All markets closed positive again. Who could have guessed it in a Federal Reserve rigged asset bubble in stocks? End the Fed. 28+ trillion in debt slavery. 8 trillion on the Fed's balance sheet. Fed is making FANG companies and rich people very rich, while wiping out the middle class. And it has a stated goal of making sure prices rise, inflation, so that you have to pay more for the same goods. The Fed is a criminal private bank. 120 billion per month feeding the US markets for the next 6 months, and then trouble times will start. Fed says up and it goes up. Big numbers mean nothing: debt, balance sheet, inflation, valuations, etc. The economy is welfare and the stock market. The stock market has become an extension of the Federal Reserve Bank. Every dip or minor correction has rewarded those who bought the dip. There is little to no fear as traders realize that the Fed won't raise rates or stop buying treasuries. The Fed has created a bubble in equities and real estate, and they do not care about the long-term consequences. Inflation is skyrocketing. Inflation is pushing the price of oil to the moon. Gas up 100%. Food up 50%. Lumber up 300%. Stock market up 300%. Plastics, PVC on the way up. Tesla recalling 285,000 cars, and its stock is up, and so is GME and Bitcoin, tells you the state of the markets nowadays. The housing market, it's about to get really messy with the end of the rent moratorium in late July. The Fed's war on America continues. Rates at zero. Let inflation run hot, destroy savings, forcing Ma and Pa to keep working at the dirt factory just to keep cat food on the table. The S&P's daily new record high is about as relevant as the term strong dollar. Markets are never allowed to go down anymore, until they do. Fed is creating the biggest asset bubble in US history. The United States government is to borrow $3 trillion this year to meet its obligations according to the Congressional Budget Office (CBO). That's almost as much as their entire revenue from tax intakes, with it increased by another $745 billion from this February's projections due to the American Rescue Plan Act of 2021. The Federal Reserve is keeping interest rates at artificially low rates through their monthly purchases, 80 billion of treasuries and 40 billion of mortgage-backed securities. If and when the Fed starts to gradually reduce their monthly purchases, then there should be an increase in interest rates. The Fed knows that they are responsible for the surge in equities and real estate. The Fed also knows that equities and real estate will crash without their continued intervention. $120 billion fed by the Fed every month. That's the only reason everything is this out of whack. If everything okay in US economy, then what holds the Fed from increasing interest rates? The Fed balance sheet in 2007 was $800 billion, today it is $7.5 trillion, mostly treasuries and MBS. A decade plus of loose money has jacked assets up so high that the Fed is now trapped. For sure the Fed can stop subsidizing the 10-year rate with purchases, and rates would then skyrocket. The Fed has to also cooperate with the administration and its objectives. Forbearance ends in September unless it is extended again. High rates would not be helpful for the administration's optics at that point. Further, the Fed acting out of self-preservation will not seek to kneecap demo socialist spending programs by backing the Treasury with interest payments, so will need to continue Treasury purchases forever until the system is somehow dramatically reset. This is quite characteristic of failing empires. When the aggregate of the populace seeks more to consume than produce as a society, the governments and banks spend in excess of their ability. As it has been historically standard, the governments have a difficult time saying no when the populace demands more spending, once in a cycle of over-expenditure. It is more likely than not at this point that the society will continue to spend faster than value growth, until the monetary system collapses. Generally it is a foreign group that supersede the largest empire, but this could potentially be the first time of a total world collapse, which would be interesting to see, though quite deplorable for all. Where do we go from here? $1 billion is a new $1 million. It is all about pumping the US stock bubble in the US. Nobody cares about the collapsing economy and absurd company valuations. It is all about getting quick rich and quick capital gains sponsored by the Fed. Welcome back to the Atlantis Report. You are here for your daily dose of the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. Please take a second to hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and don't forget to also hit the notification bell. Thank you. Is 30 to 40% monthly capital gains a new norm in the US stock indexes, despite absurd valuations? Can we quit our jobs already? Will the US stock bubble ever go down again, or is it a free money ATM since March 2020? No need for jobs. No need for profits. No need for fundamentals. No need for good economic data. Just buy stocks, any stocks, and get rich. 28.5 trillion in debt and rising rapidly. Good morning, America. America's debt to gross domestic product ratio is now 128%. Good morning, US investors. You have an economy in free fall, yet the Fed has inflated stock prices way up. Enjoy the illusion you're being fed by the Fed. Debt is now the breakfast, lunch, and dinner of America. To those that say debt doesn't matter, go to the bank and try to get a loan without enough collateral or debt-to-income ratio. So when interest rates go to 17% due to inflation, how much in interest payments will that be? I remember when the rates went up to 16% back in the 80s. Just about all housing sales stopped. Watch what happens to these dreamers if mortgage rates go even half that high. Since 1835, the US has been rolling over its debt. Must be one of the longest-running, most effective Ponzi schemes. On January 8, 1835, President Andrew Jackson achieved his goal of paying off the United States national debt in its entirety. It was the only time in US history that our national debt was at zero. With the current administration pushing for higher inflation with more deficit spending, the bull run in oil will not stop until the Fed raises rates. Which won't happen because everyone is so over-leveraged, and the US is buried in debt. There would be an instant recession if the Fed raises rates. I also noticed that crimes and violence didn't settle since Trump left office. This is a symptom of the poor getting poorer because of the cost of living getting higher and higher due to money printing. Oil is going to 150 and the wealth gap will widen even more thanks to Biden. When the Feds are investing and keeping interest rates low, the markets go up. I do believe we are in a bubble, although we are entering the last stage, the euphoria stage, in the upside, which goes up faster than the bull market. Look at the Nasdaq chart from October 98 until the crash. The last couple months had the fastest rise. I do believe we will have a meltdown. On the weekly chart, the MACD moving average convergence divergence started a negative slope back in February. Unfortunately, the divergence can hold so long as big money can manipulate price with low volume. They need more people to buy in before correction. You hear Jim Cramer and CNBC pushing tech stocks like Amazon with pending antitrust legislation and stocks topping off on indicators. Buyer beware. This thing is a bubble. Timing is difficult. But the more it inflates, the more scandalous it will be and will bring on the Democrats' trigger-happy regulatory side. A fast drop is coming regardless of any moves up. And the more it goes up and up, the crash will happen quicker. The US dollar just positively crossed the 200 EMA. It's entering a bull market. A higher dollar means money leaving the stock market. According to Google News articles, this is what foreign investors have already started doing. Going into dollar because of fears correction coming soon. Sell people. A correction is round the corner and waiting to snap up your gains. Every single day the same artificial parabolic stock price pumping. Absurd valuations are getting more absurd. There is no trading volume. Since 2008 the market has not been a freely trading market. Have you read about the Plunge Protection Team? PPT. How about the computers and algorithms that now control how the markets move? The Fed now has a balance sheet of $8 trillion with a capital T. They are buying hundreds of billions in treasuries each month, because no one else will buy this newly issued junk debt. USA now has approximately $35 trillion in debt. Will that ever be repaid? Imagine the pushback if Apple issued $3 trillion in bonds only to buy the bonds back themselves as the Fed is doing? BlackRock has unlimited buying power now, and purchases futures, ETFs, options, and many other derivatives, all while holding the bulging purse of the Fed loaded via the money printer. Wake up, people. The stock market has become a Ponzi in itself. I am not shorting the market, I just see the market for what it is. It is a highly leveraged, computer-driven, traders with large margin balances being propped up by the same people printing the excess cash and buying their own debt. This cannot continue forever. The rent and mortgage moratorium ends in 2 days. No one in the media is covering it. When millions of people are without shelter, government checks, food and the like, we could see a much different reality very soon. It's so hard for me to believe that the Fed thinks they can tease inflation to 2+% a year by continuing to buy treasuries in their $8 trillion portfolio. They have made it seem perfunctory interest rates and inflation denial will bring perfect timing. The piper will be paid. The more there's no fear, the closer we're getting to that unfortunate time period for the markets. Believe it. This is what you get when central bankers at the Fed decide it is their job to artificially inflate asset prices at any cost. They create a false market where stocks appear to only ever go higher until the giant Ponzi scheme collapses. Remember to hold all Fed bankers accountable. The Fed and your government are determined to destroy the middle and lower classes through inflation and wealth transfers through these massive asset bubbles. This is truly banana republic type stuff. End the Fed. Buy gold and silver to preserve wealth. Gold and silver are constitutional money. And on the 4th of July, celebrate the greatness of our founding fathers and the incredible bravery and foresight they exercised in creating the greatest nation the world has ever known. Markets will be a pile of rubble regardless of this short-term manipulated run. This was the Atlantis Report. Please like, share, leave me a comment, subscribe. And please take some time to subscribe to my backup channels. I do upload videos there too. You'll find the links in the description box. You will also find a PayPal link if you want to make a donation. Thank you wholeheartedly to all those of you who have already donated. Stay safe and healthy, friends.